So partly what I bring to this class is a combination. As Kathy was saying, it's two classes. In the first class, I'll start by giving you a little bit of why meditation and why it can be helpful to you. And specifically, because this is this Tibetan sound meditation, some of the research that we've done specifically for memory and cognitive function. And so partly because I'm working in a cancer center, when we look at memory and cognitive function, one of the areas where this happens to kind of decline is during chemotherapy. So there's something called chemo brain. And chemo brain means that the brain, because of the chemo, kind of gets a little more foggy, gets a little more confused, and loses some of its function. So partly what we're doing with meditation is trying to see if we can recuperate that. So we did a small pilot study that I'll talk about, where actually we were able to recuperate in the woman with breast cancer that had undergone chemotherapy, recuperate their short-term memory as well as the cognitive function. So I'll share some of that data, but I guess I'm not going to bore you with that in the class unless you want to. So if you want to, I can bring the paper and so forth and give that to those who want to. But I know that the majority of the people that come in general, and I'll ask this in the first class, are much more interested in the practice. So I'll talk about the practice, why we're doing practices with sound, why we're doing practices with breathing. Part of why we do meditation is to be actually more in the present moment. And research actually shows that almost half the time we're not. So if I ask you, where are you now? You'll probably say, well, in the class, in the Glasscock. I don't even know if you remember that we're in 115. But partly is, if I ask you again, where are you? You might have gone to, oh, I forgot to put the whatever in the parking place. Or, oh, I want some more of that cheese. Or, you know, what is this guy talking about? You know, so whatever it is, the mind goes and comes back. Or Tibetan, oh, I love to go to Tibet. And your mind goes to Tibet without a passport and comes back. The mind is amazing. But partly is, the research shows that when we're here, we're happier. So that would be one good reason why to learn more meditation, to be here and now. And partly, when we are here and now and are happier, there's a lot of things that happen in the body. That's why we call these mind-body practices. So I'll share some of that research as well. But as I know, most people actually want to learn how to meditate. So what I'll share with you is, I'll share in a moment a little bit about a meditation, but what I'll share in the class is learn why to meditate, for example, with the breath. We all have the breath, we all use the breath, and if I ask you, are you breathing now? I hope all of you would say yes, but partly, are you using your breath? Are you conscious of your breath? Most of the times we're not. So partly is using the breath to be here and now, guiding the breath lower, so it's not so much in this upper, and usually we breathe shallow and fast, and actually that produces more anxiety. So actually breathing lower. And then partly how we bring sound. Sounds can be very helpful both to help focus, and also not only to focus, but also to bring some tasks that we're doing as clearing the obstacles of everyday life, which could be emotions, could be thoughts, and then bringing more attention to different parts of ourselves and to bringing different aspects that we want to cultivate. Maybe compassion, maybe loving kindness, maybe joy. And so how do we bring those into everyday life? And so this practice will help us into that. So with the time that we have, what I'd like to do is first see if there's any questions on the class, and then maybe guide you in a short practice. So questions? Yes, sir.
Since it's only 2 classes, I mean, does that give you enough to start meditating, or do you need to take more?
Great question, great question. So first of all, partly because we have them a week apart, the homework is that every day to meditate. And to meditate 10 minutes, 11 minutes, not that long. So I'm going to ask you to meet with yourself. So you know that in your calendar you usually have meeting with so-and-so, meeting with so. So I'm going to ask you to actually have time to meet with yourself and for 10 minutes meditate. And I'm going to give you a link to guide you if that's something that you want. Or you can do it in silence. So I'll give you that. And then after the class I'm also going to give you both opportunities to, how to continue practicing, but also links to other opportunities, both that we're going to continue doing at the Glasscock School, but also in other places in Houston. So there will be more opportunities. The other thing that I mentioned also in the last mini session is that one of the things I emphasize is not just those 10 or 11 minutes of the day to practice, but how you bring that into your everyday life. And I use the metaphor, as my teacher Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche does, of meditation pills. So, if you only meditate 10 minutes a day, you still have 23 hours and 50 minutes left. So how do you bring this, what you've cultivated, maybe calmness and focus, into the rest of the day by taking this meditation pills, either as an aspirin, so when my head hurts, I do a meditation, or as an antibiotic. We do it every 4 hours or 6 hours, whatever the doctor, in this case, the instructor, recommends.